Hello and welcome to episode 8 of the Wakefield to Knottingley route building series. Today we're taking a look at the area around Ferrybridge, Junctions and Knottingley, finishing off the track in this area so that we can pretty much say that we've got all the track done for the most part. We've laid already Pontefract East Junction, which is just up there. We're now focusing on Ferrybridge South Junction, which is this bit where the Swinton and Knottingley line divides off. Ferrybridge North Junction, and then where the power station is at Ferrybridge, just up here. Not going to lay the power station itself just yet, we're going to hold off that. We're just going to lay the feeder lines towards Milford for now. So we've got to the end of the 1 in 152 that we saw in episode 7, which was just before the junction there. I've worked out where everything needs to be. Should now go on to a minus 122 gradient. And it should go onto that gradient, sorry, minus 166 gradient. And it should go onto that for 241 metres. So we'll place that here. And again, that's, as I said, that's 241 metres. So that goes to there. And then the next one is 1 in 482 downhill, and that's for 256 metres. So that's 482. 256 metres of that. Basically, that's taking us through these junctions. And then we can start doing a bit more easement track here, because that's where super elevated curve can be. First of all, we're just going to go back and we're going to smooth some of these bits, I think. Actually, no. Change my mind. We'll go back and we'll carry on. So I don't lose track of where I was. 740 metres then at 1 in 300 uphill. So put down to 300. So if you can hear some background noise, that's the neighbours currently doing their house up next door. There's 1 in 300. We're going to put easements on for this bit. We're just going to start with a bit of level track, a bit of straight track to there. And then it's a case of I'm going to have to put it on passenger, because if you look on main line, all the lines for the purple lines, the white lines and everything for the curves, they can't go sharp enough for what we actually need to do. We need to go follow this line here. If we put it onto passenger, note it lets us put that white line. The more I shift about with my mouse, you can sort of just see the white lines flying around, which tells me where I can lay the track. It's hard to show it with a zoom, but you sort of get the idea. So we need to lay to there, and we can follow the curve around until the point where it needs sharpening up again, which is going to be somewhere around here. And then we click again once we've adjusted, and at this point we're going to need to make it less of a sharp curve. And the curve ends just as you go over this bridge, basically, so we need to take the curve up to the bridge and then stop it. Stop it there and take it onto the bridge, and then it needs to curve away to the left, but we're probably getting to the end now of where the actual gradient should go. So it was only 700 metres. I think we've probably gone past that, to be honest. I imagine it'll end somewhere around the bridge, because that's where a lot of gradients just, you know, change, where there's river bridges and road bridges and stuff. So 1 in 300 from here, and it's for 740 metres. Yeah, we have gone over where we need to be. So you can see it is literally where the river bridge is. It's right in the middle. Now I imagine it's not actually right in the middle. It'll either be right at the start or right at the end. You don't change gradients in the middle of a metal bridge, obviously. So I would suspect 700 metres this side, 863 metres this side. I personally think the gradient will stop there. So we'll cut back to here. And then what we've got is 144 metres of downhill 19888. Now that sounds perfect really to get over this bit of river, actually thinking about it. Basically that's the gradient it crosses the river at. Make sure to put it back on passenger. To there. Then the straight across. Let's have a look and see how far we've got to go. Probably already gone past where we needed to be honest. Select the track and then just drag along and see how far we've got to go. It was for 144 metres. That's to there. Oops. So delete the bit that was excess to what we needed. And then the new gradient then is 1 in 1263 downhill, and that's for 177 metres. But obviously we're going to be going to this big hill, so we first of all need to lower some of this terrain down, which is pretty easy. We just do that, and that pulls the terrain down to the height we need it to be. Oh, I've laid that at -88. Look at that. You talk about showing the cut. I said I'd show the cock-ups in this video. I've just laid that at -1 in 88, not 1 in 888. So I'm going to have to delete that bit. It's a good job I didn't do it for like a mile or something. Again, it shows how easy it is to do. We'll go back. Need to put the extra 8 in there. That would have been a right cock up, that would. It's the sort of thing you've got to be careful to notice. And it is sometimes you don't notice it until it's too late and you have to go back and redo a load of stuff. Luckily, I just caught it then. Although it's not shouldn't really be lucky, it's pretty bad form that for me to do that. So again we go over the river and it ends just sort of there by the end of the road bridge. That's better. No huge jump now in the track. So it's then, I'm just going to cut a little bit off here. -1263 is the next gradient. And that goes for 177 metres, which isn't far really. This is Brotherton that we're coming to, Brotherton Tunnel. Heading towards Burton Samanol on here, which is also as you're going towards Milford Junction. It's really hard to see exactly where the track is on this bit. It's there. So we need to ease the curve off quite a bit. I just need to go back now, obviously, and double check exactly where the gradient change was and how far I need to do it for. It's 177 metres it needed to be for. It goes to there. So we should cut it here. Cut the excess off as we did then. And note we've come to the end of the terrain again. So to get that back we need to do a 3x3 area, or 5x5 should be fine here actually. So what we're doing is, because you can see there's a big flat edge here, we've got to get the terrain back to the height it should be all the way across, so it's actually brought from the dem data. Again, I've done a tutorial on the channel already. It's in the route building tutorials section playlist. That shows you how to actually get the dem data into the game. Sorry, I'm yawning. Sorry, oh Christ. Just talking rubbish. Just talking absolute rubbish. That shows you how to actually get your real hill data into the game, the dem data. All I've done here is clicked the button. I've already got the dem data in the game, obviously. Importing it from that folder. And it's over 5 tiles by 5 tiles. SRT import data. Note that it'll reset 5 tiles around me, basically. Within 5 by 5 radius, it'll reset around me. So all that bit I've just messed with there it's going to reset, because it's going to reset it to the default. So watch all this terrain, it'll just leap up in the air. There you go. You can see the tracks disappeared onto the terrain. And also any other changes that I've made, like here, because it's within 5x5 tiles of where we actually did it, has reset as well. You can see that's actually where the boundary is, just there. It's not an issue when you're obviously at this stage where you're not bothered about the terrain. It obviously becomes a bigger issue if you start doing this later in production. If you do it near your track, you'll lose any terrain data that you've already put in. That's why you need to get your terrain sorted out really quite early in the process. So we got to the end of the 1 in 1263. The last bit of gradient on this section we're going to do is 1 in 516 uphill, and that is for 1,094 metres. I'm just going to extend again this bit. Now this is quite hard to see exactly where we're going here, and it's just lower some more terrain first before we do. But you can hardly see the track because of the amount of trees in the cut in there. I think it's on a pretty constant curve actually. So we're just at Brotherton Tunnel at the minute. This is a pretty difficult little bit because obviously I can't really see what I'm doing. There are ways around this you can do to see what you're doing better. You can put pins and stuff in from Google Maps, but for this one curve I'm going to battle through and just concentrate on getting it done, because I can make a good enough job of it to see where it is. So we can see now that we're coming out of the bushes. See, it's a little bit off, so we're just going to put it back over here a bit. And start making it straight a bit earlier. Not quite happy with that still. Would help if I could see what the Google thing was doing. There we go. So that'll now allow us to go back on the track bed properly. So we can go back now and just measure up exactly how far we've laid there first of all, because we've probably gone far enough. The distance we needed to lay was 1,094 metres, so that's way back down here somewhere. There we go. So 1,094 metres, we just cut off there. And then we can leave this bit then for, if we ever, well, we will eventually continue that to Milford. But you can see we're sort of getting a bit away from the actual core Wakefield to Knottingley route now that we're focusing on. So there's no point in carrying on for like miles up there to Milford, because even this little bit to Milford would take a few weeks to make. It'll get done, I'm definitely sure it'll get done, but not the focus primarily of this series. So we've got to go back, we've got to smooth the gradients that we've just done, we've got to do super elevation as well. We've got loads of points to put in. We've got all this lot to do around here. First of all, I need to do some calculations, so I'm going to cut the recording here for a minute and I'll come back and I'll restart it. Okay, so I've now done the calculations I needed to do, and that is so I can carry on the Swinton and Knottingley line from Ferrybridge South Junction towards Pontefract Bag Hill Station. So it's upgrading a 1 in 152 uphill that we've been laying on. We need to turn easements off because there's a junction here. And all we're going to do is going to carry on from here and lay upwards towards Pontefract Bag Hill. So again, we've got, as I said, 1 in 152 gradient. We've got 385 metres to do of that still. So we'll carry that on up the hill. We're going to end up under the ground again here, so we're going to have to flatten this terrain off, unfortunately. Not a major issue at all. Down to about 21 metres should do it. Again, it doesn't matter that we're doing all this, we're just going to reset the terrain anyway before we actually do any serious route building. This is all really preparation work that we're still doing, including the track. It's very early stages of the route. The exciting stuff will come when we start doing scenery, when we get talking about custom assets and stuff like that, and how we actually put those into the route. So that's going underneath the Wakefield to Knottingley route there, which is obviously an interesting thing. Apart from the not so interesting thing is the fact that that clearly is not enough height for a train to go under, I don't think. Probably going to have to, I reckon, make a fictional bit of gradient here, because we can see already clearly something's not right, because it gets steeper as well. From this junction here where we've started that gradient, it actually gets steeper before this bridge, so it's obviously going to be too high, I would have thought, too much, not enough clearance, basically. What we can do is we can test it by lowering the terrain. We can't, unfortunately, use the snap to track tool, because if we use the snap to track tool here for the terrain, it's just going to put it everywhere, because you've got two sets of tracks. So with the terrain tool, we'll have to use the actual manual level off sort of idea. Like so. Because this is not proper terrain what we're doing anyway. We're trying to work out what height of clearance we need. Not that bridge. This sort of bridge will be the one we'll probably use. So we need to drop that down to the right height for it to be. And you can clearly see that we've got a major issue there with the actual height, because that's nowhere near the right height. Now the reason for that will be is somewhere we've obviously got a wrong gradient. Now it's not from this one, and it's not on the main line, so I don't actually understand how it's possible. It probably is somewhere around this junction where I've had to connect the two lines to each other. Is probably where it's come from, because we're supposed to be doing 385 metres of 1 in 152 from there, from the junction. So we're doing 385 metres of it. Well, that's to here. So we need to cut that first of all and get that out of the way. So that's the section of 1 in 152 that we need to do. But even now I'd say we're still probably borderline too high for that bridge. I would say we need to come back to somewhere around here and then make a level section, because unfortunately that's the only thing we can really do. And at some point we're going to have to even it all off to make it sure it's the right height. So we can put it onto a level track for this bit to go underneath and see how we look then. And then some calculations are going to have to be made to try and work out exactly what height things need to go at. Because if we ever come to do the Swinton and Knottingley route, we're going to find that if we're not careful, all the terrain everywhere will be the wrong height for the actual track that we're laying. So we'd have to do what I call a normalisation at some point. We'd have to normalise exactly what the height would be. So we're just going to go in Scenario Editor quickly. Be right back, and then we'll test the track and everything. Okay, so I've gone in Scenario Editor. I've grabbed out an Ep.8 because they're notoriously tall things in Train Sim. Some would say inaccurately so, and I would kind of agree with that. So we've got the 156 in, we can see it's still clipping that bridge look there. So unfortunately, we're still going to have to do something here with the track to get it to the right height. I'm beginning to warm to the idea of a fictional gradient on the Knottingley line, perhaps, to try and aid this. So make minor changes to the gradients of both lines to actually overcome this issue, perhaps. I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do with it, in all honesty, because it's going to end up breaking one of my golden rules, which is never use the arrow tool, and we're going to have to use the arrow tool at some point here, I think, for the gradients. So we've got this here at level track where the 1 in 152 ends. Let's do it as its normal gradient, which should be 1 in 122, because it should have steepened up by this point to 1 in 122 with an uphill gradient of 256 metres at 122. So we'll try and put it underneath. It's not going to fit, we know that already, we've tested that. And it's for what distance was it? 256 metres? So that's 181. 295 to there, so 60 metres from there is what we need. There we go. So that takes us up to the end of the 1 in 122 section. Now there's no point in us carrying on just yet, because we need to work out what we're going to do here. We've got a few options. We can do what I did before, which is lower this track significantly to the point where we can fit under this bridge. But then you're thinking, at some point, because this then obviously would be quite wrong, because it should be going up at a 122 gradient. If it was level from way back here, and I'll try and explain, it's hard to explain. If it was level from here, at 22.93 metres, until you got past the bridge, it would still be at 22.93 metres. It should be at 24.57. So you're nearly 2 metres in terms of height out there. That's not a massive amount, but if you keep making little levers like that across the route, it's going to be majorly out. Now my theory here for us is to make a somewhat fictional bit across here. So this is on a 1 in 168 dropping gradient towards Knottingley constantly. What we can do is we can somewhere along here work out what height we need to be at and make a steeper drop on that side, but a leveler side over the actual bridge to make enough clearance for us. So first of all, because I'm going to have to use the arrow tool, I always say never use the arrow tool and all that, you must isolate any track that you are intending to manipulate with the arrow tools. So we've got to isolate it by cutting the track between the points where we're going to be messing. So we cut it there, and there's junctions down here that we've got to be careful we don't mess with, or where there will be junctions around here. So we'll cut it up here. So we've cut the gaps there. And now what we need to do is we need to work out, okay, what height does this bridge need to be for us to fit a 156 at a tall boy underneath it? Well, we can go into scenario editor straight away is what we need to do. We can place the 156 on the lower line because we know we've got that to the height we want it now. And then what we need to do is we need to move the bridge to the height where the 156 will fit underneath. And we also, following that, need to adjust this line so that it fits on the bridge and the AP 156 fits underneath. So first of all, place your 156. And you can see how the scale of the issue there, chopped out the thing off. So we need to go back to route editor now. Not the route editor, Christ. It's not what we need. Neither's that bright light, we didn't really need that. Right, I got rid of that. I'm going to lift the bridge to the height that it needs to be. So the bridge needs to be, I'm going to make it really now at a tight clearance because unfortunately that's really the only option we have right now. So I've got a tight clearance there. And look how much higher we need to make this track here. But we have got enough space to do it. That is the crucial thing. So we need to select the gradient arrows. And remember, never use gradient arrows in normal circumstances. They are not good for anything. in this situation, I call this an emergency situation, I can live with this and have to use it. So I'm going to lift this up to there. Now I'm going to go here. Remember that the reason we've isolated this, by the way, from other parts of the route is because if you mess with these gradient arrows where other parts of the route are connected still, it can fly the track up in the air and all sorts of miles from where you actually are. By doing this, you've isolated it so it can't do that. You're only editing this little section. So we need to bring that up onto there. I'm going to keep it level across the bridge, so 29.92 is what we need to set to. Okay, so we've lifted that to the height it needs to be above there now. We can safely say that pretty much everything should fit under that bridge. Obviously what we've got is we've got these bits that aren't smoothed gradient changes. And I'm going to make it so, just have a look at what the gradient is, it's 1 in 97. So we can lift this up a bit more so there's not such a pronounced change right on the edge of the bridge there. 1 in 84. And that'll do 29.76 and 29.76 on this side. And then we need to weld back there where we were messing, and on this side we need to do it again. Now these occurrences like this are pretty rare in train sim. I can't actually remember the last time I've had to do that to get a track underneath. Unfortunately, it had to be done. Now the positive thing is that the actual route's gradients of both lines now will be correct, apart from, obviously, this little bit, which we need to smooth out in a second. This bit won't be correct because it should just be a 1 in 168 constant gradient, but obviously now there's a little bit of a hump in it. But the rest of the route will be correct. And the reason the reason that I would say that is the best option is because if we had just gone under here and made this one different, i.e. if we'd just edited and made this lower here, it would naff the entire Swinton and Knottingley route's gradients if we were to do it. They'd all be lower or higher than what they should be. By doing it this way, gradients down here are normal at the right height, and gradients up here are normal at the right height, all the way to Wakefield and all the way to Knottingley. It is just this little bit where it's a fictional gradient. And unfortunately that's just the way some things end up being. Because the train sim route editor is an absolute beast of a thing sometimes to get right. And undoubtedly it's probably my error somewhere in there that's caused that, around that junction, but you could spend forever and a day trying to work out exactly what it is and you could get nowhere. Whereas, for the most part, 80 to 90% of people, if I told them about what I just did there, wouldn't notice. Obviously you've seen it because there's a balls up and we're showing all the balls ups. Now I just need to smooth the gradients on the edge of this bridge. I think that's the first time I've ever really come across this issue, actually, of having to lower track and stuff in one of my own routes. Because it's rare to do fly unders. I've not done many in my routes yet, so it was an experience and a half, that. So I've got this little bit now that's a bit steeper, and we've got to actually still fix this bit at this end. But it means that the main routes themselves will still have the correct gradients, which is the important thing in my eyes. There we go. Okay, so we fixed that. We've got this 156 still in the way, so we're going to rip that out because we don't need that in at the moment. And then we can carry on the track up to Pontefract Bag Hill as normal. And as I said before, the gradients on this line will be now correct all the way, and the gradients on the Knottingley line are correct all the way apart from this little bit, which for me is a worthy penalty to pay rather than messing up the entire Swinton and Knottingley if we were to do it. So we got the end of the 122 gradient. Now I've got to lay 354 metres at 1 in 207 uphill. Again, remember that we're not back on easement yet because we haven't gone around a straight properly. We're going to actually go onto a straight now, look. So we can put easements on finally. We could have put them on before, but I don't put them on in the middle of straights for obvious reasons. Ooh, we haven't actually gone straight yet there. Now we have. Always start doing easements when you're on a straight. There's no point in starting on a curve because I'll just mess everything up. Oh, got off a bit too tight of a curve there. So let's have a look, see how many metres we've done there. We've probably got far enough there of 1 in 207. 354 metres we're looking for. And it's going to be under the motorway here somewhere. So next gradient is the last one that we'll be probably doing on this section because it's 1,624 metres at 1 in 152, so that's obviously quite a long section. Basically leads us up to Pontefract Bag Hill. Again, we need to just modify the terrain a bit here because it's getting quite low. We're going through the hill, so we've got a bit of a curve here as well. Put it back onto passenger, then we'll get better options for where we can start the straight, such as there. It needs to go a bit further yet. There we go. And it's immediately straight into this left-hander. Probably not going to take it all the way up to Bag Hill, to be honest, because it's not part of our route that we're doing and it serves no purpose on our route. Unfortunately, Bag Hill, and this is like 4 trains a day or something on the York to Sheffield services. Used to get called at by cross-country services and stuff back in the 80s, or until the 80s should I say. These days it's very, very poor service. Mainly because Pontefract has pretty good services from from Monkhill Station and Tanshaft to an extent as well. Just trying to adjust this curve so I can get the right angle on it. So we've probably gone far enough now up here with this 1 in 152 gradient. Just looking again for where the change is. It's there. So we need to measure from here. 1,624 metres, which is basically a mile. And that's to there. Now there's not really any point in us going any further than this. You're not going to see this line from the Knottingley line. There actually used to be a curve from Bag Hill that used to go across towards the Knottingley line. I'm just looking for where it used to be. It used to be somewhere along here. There. It used to go across there, and there's a viaduct still remains in this middle bit. It used to link across into the Wakefield to Knottingley route. And that was for race traffic to Pontefract race courses, Pontefract races. There used to be a siding at Pontefract Tanshaft up here. Just on the left there. Used to be a long siding for racing specials, because the race course is just over here. There. there used to be a connection for trains coming from like Sheffield or whatever, or the south, to come in across there instead of having to faff about. So we've got that in now. I don't think it's necessary to bother going any further at this moment in time, particularly because we're not focusing on that. What we do need to do is we need to turn on the easements for the bits we've just put in. So that starts just on this section, obviously. So where the straight where the straight ends, we need to just cut. So we create a new section of track in effect. So we need to cut here and then weld those bits up. And then we need to go along and select all the track that we've laid, but we don't want to select right up to the end bit. Actually thinking about it, you don't want to select the buffers as part of your super elevation because you're going to make continuum at some point, so you want to cut just short there. Because if you start extending a super elevated track, it can naff it all up. So always make sure that your track that you're laying extending from really should be not super elevated at the time of extending, ideally. So we've selected our track there on the inside, on the left hand side, on the up line. Just click the super elevation box. And you can see it's super elevated now. Same again on the other side. Again, you can do this to selecting both tracks, but for whatever weird reason, I don't. Force of habit, I guess. So that's that bit then. We've got all that section in now. Curves around Ferrybridge and stuff. Probably got about 10 minutes left in this episode. We'll see if we can just do the curve round to Knottingley, I think. Would be sensible. So this is Ferrybridge North Junction we're looking at now. I need to just go off and grab the gradients and stuff and work everything out. So I'll be back in just a moment. Right, so I've been away and I've got the gradients now to do this junction at Ferrybridge North Junction, linking out to Knottingley West Junction. We might find again that there's a bit of a discrepancy in height, but we'll see what we can do. Easy enough to put a little bit of fictional stuff in here if we have to do on this curve. Shouldn't be wildly out though. So we've laid there just the start of this one in 152 gradient off the initial junction, just to make sure it's the same height as the bit that we're next to. Click the weld thing on the diamond section so you can get that to render. Note that it's blocked again on the bottom part, so we just need to unblock it by cutting the point work on both sides here, and now you can see that it's nicely rendered. So that's rendered all around now. This other box here, I'm not going to click it, but if you did, you'd be able to get some actual working points on there, but there isn't any in real life, so we don't need those. And I'm just going to cut a bit off this because it can come back a bit further to where the actual gradient can start for the curve itself. It's a 1 in 166 gradient, not a 1 in 152. And all that's a really minor difference. You might as well try and do it right if you can do. It's for 224 metres that gradient too. Obviously I can't do super elevation once again because it's on a really tight curve onto the junction. First of all, I'm just going to try and lower some of this terrain down as well, just to make it a bit easier on ourselves. So we'll try again. It's 224 metres at that gradient. The curve starts there and then it's 24 metres onto the curve. We'll lay 43 metres and then we'll just cut a bit off to make it easier. So the gradient started there. And we're looking for 224 metres, which is here. And we're going to cut that bit. And then the next section of this curve is 273 metres at 1 in 102. Again uphill. Because obviously we're climbing up to the junction itself. Quite a sharp section this as well. 273 metres is there. And then we've got this last little bit which should be at 1 in 83 up to the junction itself. It may be a case where we have to stop when we get to the same height as the other track. It's 26.45, 26.19, and what we're going to do is we're going to try and match up here. 26.27. Match it to there, and we know that it's roughly the same height as that line coming in on the side there. And we should be able to come in at virtually the same gradient, which is a 1 in 305 downhill. Once again, we just need to be careful with our junction here. We need to put snap to track on for starters, or else it won't connect. And they're just connected in there. And we've got to render this bit. And it's done the stupid error. Well, it hasn't rendered properly, so we're going to have that bit of fun and games, which is always great stuff. Really enjoy doing this bit. It's my favourite bit of track building actually, is when point work won't render properly. It is unfortunately a really frustrating tool, the track editing tool. At times, and particularly can be when you're doing stuff like this that's fiddly point work, because we're going to find that it'll probably not render again. See, this time it's actually rendered. I said it wouldn't render and it did. I didn't really do anything particularly different. Just the angle slightly different. Not majorly though, that's for sure, for certain. However, you can see it's still not quite rendering properly. It's sort of a gap there that's quite easily visible. So this is going to be fun and games trying to fix this now. So what I'm trying to do is just cut bits of track to make it work. And what we can do next is you can control and double left click. And you can select the area of the point work. You have to click it, you have to do it in the right place like I did the second time there. And what we're trying to do is trying to get rid of that bit of track that's blocking, but I don't know if we're going to be able to. See, I don't think we're going to be able to do that. So what does Mark try next? I think a relay this way is probably going to be the easier thing. Because what it's doing, as you can see, it's cutting out the piece of track there. And as I said before, it's not something I'm a massive fan of. Not something I'm massively good at, isn't track around points and stuff. We'll try straighten it out a bit more as we're coming in to here and see if that makes a difference at all. A bit too far this time. I imagine this time it won't work either, but we'll see. Now this time it has actually worked. That's a mega bonus. Wasn't expecting it to work that time, but it's because we straightened this bit off a bit, you see. Basically, we've straightened it out, made it more linear so it can actually understand it in the game a lot easier. Maybe some tidying up to do around it, but we've got it to the correct sort of alignment to how it should be, which is the key thing. We do have some smoothing to do, but unfortunately I've got to go out as I'm saying this, so I don't really have time to smooth much of it off. Let's see what I can do. So we've got this curve in, obviously. The junctions down there, Ferrybridge North Junctions in. Just looking for where I changed the gradients here, because we've changed the gradients, as we know, halfway sort of around here. 1 in 103, I think it was here somewhere, 1 in 167. So just select these two bits, go over that section there, and cut. So that should be all sorted. All of this bit's already been smoothed off. The section up here wasn't smooth, I don't think. You see there where it's not smoothed. So we need to smooth this bit off. Like that. And again, when it changes again up here to be 1 in 152, which is just there, it also needs to be smoothed. And that was the last one. So we've now got most of the tracking for the entire route, to be honest. Episode 7 we did this section when the curve to Ferrybridge South. This episode we've done section up towards Burton Salmon, we've done the start of the Swinton and Knottingley line, we've done Knottingley West curve. Last bit of track basically going to be around Knottingley Station area, and that'll be episode 9. I think we'll cover that. And then we'll probably start on some signalling, because we've got obviously a fair bit of signalling to still do. Knottingley Depot to lay in the triangle there. That'll be tricky work once again. But we're doing okay, we're getting there. We're about 7.5, 8 hours into build, so talking 8 hours to get most of this track laid. Not too bad, I don't think. Thanks for watching, guys, anyway. Appreciate your time as always. Don't forget, any questions you've got, chuck them in the comments. Chuck them in the comments and I'll check them out. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share. Appreciate that as always. Tom's usually on Twitch. It's usually Tuesdays and Saturdays at 8 PM, and that's at twitch.tv/TrainSimTV_Tom. Cheers very much for watching, guys. See you later. Bye.